guess we'll go ahead and get started and see if we pick up any other members. We do have 4 of us on, so we do have quorum. We can get going. So welcome everybody to the June 26th FinCom meeting. I am the chair, Alana Gustafson, and I need to go over a couple things. First, one is that this meeting is being recorded, so please be careful not to screen share anything that you do not want captured in that recording. And also, all votes taken on Zoom meetings will be done by roll call. And I need to confirm that members present can participate remotely. So when I call your name, just say hello or I or something in the affirmative. Khadija.
Hi, yes, affirmative.
Peter.
Yes.
Jillian?
Yes.
Okie doke. So as I mentioned, we do not have a Katie tonight. Would another member be willing to take minutes for us this evening?
I can do so if necessary.
Oh, I think you might be it then, Jill. I think it should be a relatively easy one, so hopefully not a heavy lift there. So our agenda is pretty small this evening. It's mostly to discuss the new fiscal year transition within the committee members, so that we sort of have some idea of plans heading into FY24. I do see that both Nathan and Linda are on tonight, which is great. These are the 2 new members that will be joining you all for FY24. If you want, Nathan, if you want to just say hello, and I don't know if is there anything you want to say or any questions you might have at this point. I know you haven't gotten started yet, but happy to help.
Well, it's nice to meet everybody, and I'm excited to learn about everything that you do to help out in fiscal year 2024. My wife and I moved to Maynard like 2 years ago, so we're pretty recent additions, but we love the community here and we want to get involved and help out.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for stepping forward. We really appreciate it. Hi, Linda.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a long-term resident of Maynard, but trying to get more involved in the community here. So I look forward to learning and helping as much as I can with the work of the Finance Committee. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for stepping forward. So where do we want to start the discussion for FY24? Presumably more discussion about chair and who is going to do that, maybe, or how we would like to divvy it up.
I'm not sure we're going to come to a resolution tonight.
Yeah.
I suppose you had any indication from Katie?
I did not receive any communication.
I spoke with her Friday. She was
Okay.
thinking about it, thought she might be able to send us an email.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything from her yet, so I guess
Good.
the obvious question, Jillian wasn't there last or 2 weeks ago. You got any interest, Jim?
Well, I think the complication is that I cannot attend in-person events, and I don't know if it would be good for the chair to have such a limitation.
Mhm.
Oop, did I cut out?
No, we heard you. We heard you.
No.
Yep. One thing we did
Yeah,
discuss
I mean that.
a couple weeks ago is the idea that there are things that can be done a little differently. There are ways that we could split things up a little bit more, and that could potentially alleviate some of the burden to a new chair, especially one that is maybe a little bit newer to the committee. And so, things like the chair obviously does the agenda and gets that posted and sends it out and does the communications, but there's nothing that says either the clerk or a vice chair couldn't help with doing the board docs portion of it or doing some posting on the website. And I was saying last meeting, Jillian, that the new website is much more user friendly, and it's no longer the situation where we need to go through someone to update our website, our portion of it. And so if anybody has, an affinity or is relatively good at that, that's not really my strength. I learned the basics, but I didn't really dive into it. And that could certainly be something that is utilized more for posting information and things, especially, if people were to find that more helpful than board docs. Either way, there is no, there's a legal requirement to post the meeting time, the minutes, and all the documentation that was looked at in that meeting. But how that happens, it doesn't have to be board docs. It could be the website. It could be both. So there are some flexibilities, and depending on the new leadership, it could, you could do things a little bit differently, and maybe that would make the transition a little easier.
So the option for remotes through, I believe, the end of March of 2025. Would be a discussion next year, but based on past.
For me, you're
Yeah,
cutting out really
Dave.
bad.
Yeah, you're kind of going in and out a little bit, Peter.
All right, let me and fix my phone. Okay, sorry, that I hope is better.
Yes.
I was noting that the authorization for remote meetings extends until March of 2025,
Mhm.
and that it would depend on what the committee wants to do next year, but based on past practice and my sentiment anyway, and I think Jillian, I think it's likely we'd remain mostly remote. I get what you're saying, Jillian. I'm sure there are some meetings, but I wouldn't say that rules anybody out. But just to throw it out there.
Yeah.
And then sorry,
Hi,
was
Kevin,
someone else
welcome.
saying?
Nope,
Oh,
Kevin's
hey,
just
Kevin.
coming on. Go ahead, Peter.
And then, yeah, I mean, I think, experience is helpful, but, it doesn't rule out, either Kevin or Khadijah being,
Right.
if they're interested in being chair, for, I guess, the new members, or soon to be members, I was chair of FinCom roughly, I don't know, 8 years or so, a couple of chairs back. And I'm not interested in taking it on again at this point, but certainly would offer support to anybody. I think Alana has done a nice memo on what's required and kind of the calendar and the flow of the year. So I don't.
Kevin, before you came on, Peter mentioned that he did speak with Katie a little bit and that she may be interested in the chair. She was definitely considering it. So I don't know what your thoughts are. If you've also thought about it, if there's interest there, or you thinking you would rather not. Katie unfortunately isn't here tonight, so we may not have total resolution, but
Yeah, so I mean, I am fairly booked up. I do have, in terms of responsibilities, I am completely unable to take anything on during working hours.
Mhm.
So that is pretty hard for me to do, but what I can do is to I think assist the chair in some of the other responsibilities that do not require working hours. But
okay.
my thought on the matter is I rather not, especially since like there's probably meetings you have to do with town staff. I do not think I'm able to take on those responsibilities of the chair.
Okay.
But
Um,
I think Katie would be a fantastic selection. I think she has about a year on.
Because she's not here.
But I think she also, I think she also has about a year experience on me, and yeah, I think you know I'm ecstatic that someone with experience is willing to take on some or all the
Okay.
responsibilities, but I'm certainly willing to help out any
Okay.
way I can.
are you a website guy?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I figured that. So maybe one of the things that you could help with is some of that kind of technical, I mean, it's not that technical. It's a WYSIWYG, like, you know, add your stuff here and I'm sure you could pick it up in 2 seconds. But that might be something that could get taken off of, you know, the chair's plate as something I think would be very helpful.
Absolutely. So I could take any sort of web work, any sort of digital work, any sort of spreadsheet work, or you know, financial reporting work. I
Right.
can certainly take on. In fact, part of my day job is maintaining a catalog of documents for
Perfect.
so
Yeah, that I think that would be incredibly helpful to Katie.
yeah. I mean, can we give any feedback as to what other parts of the role are the most challenging for her?
You know, I will reach out to her this week, since she's not here tonight, and see maybe if I can help her understand it a little bit in more depth. And I would say, I mean, you mentioned daytime work, and I'm not gonna lie that it's having daytime availability is helpful, but everybody at town hall understands that we are all volunteers and that we all, or many of us, have jobs outside of these committees. So there was never a mandated during the day requirement. So anyone who is thinking of doing you know, leadership roles and things, even if not this year but in the future, just know that, you know, they are very accommodating. And while there were certainly times where I went down to town hall during the day and maybe had a meeting with Greg or something, it was not in any way, like, he was always so appreciative that I did that. But because he's also willing to, you know, stay after hours or have a, you know, do whatever is needed, because they understand, like, they know that that's not, you know, the case for everybody. So just wanted to clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, my thoughts on the matter is, yeah, so daytime is out. Anything technical I could help out with, I think particularly for the secretary role, I believe, so I know Google does this now, and I believe Zoom does this as well, but there could be the ability to automatically collect a transcript of this meeting, especially since we're required to record it.
Mhm.
And so that may be able to alleviate some of the stenographic responsibilities that the other positions may have as well.
Right. I mean, the other thing about minutes is they're not, you know, it's not a like everything that was said kind of a thing. It really is, legally speaking, it's who was there, where were you, when did you start, when did you stop, what votes were taken, and then it can be simply a matter of going through the agenda, you know, what was discussed and the agenda. I think people have different styles to minutes, and that's totally fine. Certainly the town moderator, as sort of the you know, I don't, overseer is a terrible word. What's the word I'm looking for? But you know what I mean? He certainly will encourage minutes that do give people a little more of a sense of maybe the discussion or what was going on, in case they, well, this certainly when we didn't record meetings as well, wanted to be sure that people could sort of get a feel for the meeting as well. But they're definitely, again, the minutes are not a transcript of the meeting, and they don't have to be.
That's definitely, we summarize it. I mean, we go a little bit beyond the legal requirement.
Yes,
As I
we
say in
do.
the
We
minutes,
tend to, yeah, we definitely tend to. Which I do think people find helpful. You just have to be a little bit careful with paraphrasing or in any
Mhm.
way. And that's why we all read through them, right? Because, sometimes someone might say like, so-and-so had this opinion. It's like, whoa, that wasn't what I said. Like there can be a little bit of that, which is why we all approve the minutes.
Yep.
But yeah, that would, I think, so I will definitely speak with Katie when I get a chance. And
Khadijah, did you have any thoughts or?
Well, I definitely could make time during the day, but I am on another committee, and I am concerned not having been through a whole year, a whole cycle. I kind of came on, April,
Yeah.
May, kind of late
Yeah.
in the,
yeah,
so that I think I really would feel more comfortable if I went through a whole year, but if, nobody else steps up, I mean, so like I said,
Well-
I'm hesitant about that.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Jillian, so the other option we would have is to appoint a, short-term chair, and then with new members and some meetings in July and August, we could reevaluate it, come September 1st, which is about when, fall special town meeting will really, kick into gear. And so I wonder, I just don't want to be too much doing this discussion with Dick Downey. And, so Jillian, would you be willing to do a 2-month appointment? And then we can, reevaluate it in August and see what people's feelings are then?
Yeah,
Or
I
do a whole
mean,
1 year? Or do a 1 year? I don't mean to discourage that in any way.
do
but,
it 1 year, slap on those money. Yeah, I mean, my style, I think, will be maybe a little more strict. So I don't know how that'll flow with everyone else. I just realized from reading the notes from last time, because I wasn't here, that Ken is also stepping down, which I did not realize.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm behind. So, as is tradition, on my emails. Yeah, I mean, because we have a lot of new members, so I was like, what about Ken? And he's not, okay, got it. Yeah. So, I mean, if that makes sense, I mean, something I would like to look for us to look into is actually looking at some of these grants. Because I feel like, and I'm not entirely clear, like if from what Greg said, it sounds like different committees around the town apply for these grants and sort of get the town's blessing on them. But I'm just not sure how they're identified, but I think that could be something that might be helpful. Like, I want to actually do something. I don't want to just talk about doing something. Talking is important. But I feel like we also need to take some action. And I feel like I'm very comfortable with writing. So I felt like this was a way that could potentially be helpful, but I'm just not sure what it entails yet, or if it's even possible.
No, that's interesting because I do think sometimes there's a little bit of a bottleneck in terms of just capacity for staff in town hall. And as you know, I think I may be a little behind, but I think we're still looking for a new assistant town administrator. I think they were close on that. and we're down a finance director. And so, you know, when these things happen, especially together, there are things that they're just, you know, the bandwidth just isn't there with our staff at town hall. And so potentially I would think that that might be something I don't see why it couldn't be something we could look into. And yeah, as I said, you know, the charter says we need a chair and a clerk, someone that, you know, and that's it. The vice chair role we sort of added at some point, which I think is good because it's helpful, you know, we all get sick or have a vacation or something. And so it's very helpful to just have sort of a second in command for the chair to rely on. But what exactly, you know, gets divvied up between the clerk and the vice chair and the chair is really pretty flexible. So. Is there anything, I'm not sure what else in terms of decision making we could do tonight without Katie.
So we
if
also
are.
need a, so if Jillian is getting appointed chair, that means we also need to appoint a clerk.
Mhm.
So I would be willing to step in the role of clerk.
Okay.
Particularly since we're recording it, I think I could probably save a lot of labor otherwise, because I can utilize the automatic transcription and automatic summarizing tools that I have at my disposal.
Okay.
So I can transcribe this video, like for this video, for example, I can automatically transcribe it. I can then feed it into an AI model that I have, and will spit out a summary, and then I can review and like correct the AI model. But I think probably the clerk role is probably a good place to have. There's some impact that the technology can have that can sort of save the labor that I'm not sure.
Okay.
Maybe there's another member that has that expertise, but I would put myself out there as someone that could probably utilize technology to save some time.
Historically speaking, I don't think the
I
clerk
think
has
that-
been fought over. So I think if you're willing to step in, then they will be quite happy.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I mean, so long as we have like an
Right.
MPEG of this video, I'll be able to go ahead and get a transcription off of that. And
Yeah, I think I can just after once the video is like captured in Zoom, it takes like just a little bit for it to process. And then after that, it is shareable like in a link form. So
yeah, so I think the chair would just share the video for me. I go
Mhm.
and download the video and then do my
Cool.
thing. I also was an editor for a little while, so I don't think there's any video editing that's needed. But yeah, so I could go get the transcript, summarize it, give the chair back the minutes. Are we still doing the process to get this to YouTube? Are we still doing the process where we hand it off to WAVM?
Yeah.
Yeah, as
At
the
this
script
point,
of-
yes. Yeah, that is still the process. And they have been relatively good on the turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, I can also save them web time by doing a automatic push to YouTube, but I don't know if that's gonna breach protocol.
You could
or
ask,
whatever.
I don't know if it's an issue with just like giving out the sign-in information, you know? I don't know how close they keep that to their,
I mean, they could just create an account for me, and then it's like, okay, push to YouTube, and we can.
right. Yeah,
So
I mean, if you wanna, it might be that they'll be glad to have one less, you know, meeting you have to post. So
Well,
I-
yeah,
I would certainly ask. It's worth an ask.
Uh,
Definitely.
because I do think these YouTube videos are extremely useful for people,
Yeah.
especially those that can't meet the meaning. In addition to the
Right.
minutes and the transcript, but we'll also have a transcript too for people to read.
Right. Natasha, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that they probably will not give you access to the WAVM very tight on that just because it's student content. And they also do it part of their education, their certification. They actually have to do some of the work about editing and whatnot. So it's actually work towards their Chapter 74 certification. So I just wanted to, don't hold your breath on that exercise.
Yeah, I'm just happy to hit that WAVM anyway, anyway I can, if this is gonna save, because I think right now all it is we hand it off to the teacher at WAVM and they just directly upload. I don't know if there's any
Yeah.
editing involved. But if this is, I'll ask, and if
Yeah.
they say like, oh, we use this for educational purposes, then no harm, no foul. But if this can save, the teacher from some grunt work that they have to do, I mean, more than happy to lend a hand to support them.
Okay. Great. So that sounds good. So I just reiterate, I think what will be proposed at the first meeting in FY24 is I don't know, Peter, would we say that it's going to be a temporary? I don't think we'd even bother, right? Would we just vote, you all just vote in Jillian as chair, but with the knowledge amongst us that may change in a couple of months once, we think Katie maybe might want to step in, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, we can kick out the chair anytime we want. But yeah, I mean, I would do it. I think we're okay doing it that way, and I would do it that way, more to get Jillian to take it. And then, we have a definite time that we would revisit it at, the meetings in August. And so, yeah, I think that's fine. I also think it's a slightly weird model that, the very first order of business for the new committee with new members is to elect a chair. So I think it's a perfectly appropriate thing to say, we're going to do it, but we're going to do it for a 2-month period and then reevaluate it.
Yeah.
So,
and perhaps we can, it can be Jillian chair, Katie vice chair, and then if they, want to do a swap, that would be sort of the logical and easiest thing, I would think, maybe.
Yeah, that, again.
Okay.
Depending on their willingness to do it.
Yeah, right. Yes, I will fill Katie in on our discussion and see where she's at. I think that sounds pretty good. And Kevin, thank you so much for offering to do the clerk. I think that will be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I actually ask you, Alana?
Yeah.
And it's slightly weird with you leaving, and I could do it, I guess, or Jillian could do it. Have you talked to Dick Downey and prompted him that he's the one who's got to post the meeting for the beginning of July?
Yes, I told him that I
Okay.
would sort of assemble the agenda and send it off to him, and then he would be responsible for it at that point.
Okay.
So
That's
one
great.
one
Thank
thing to talk about tonight is what else you would all like to have on that first meeting's agenda.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. We did not receive, I'm gonna move along a little bit unless anyone has any other thoughts on our first agenda item there.
Katie, is there anything that's a particular challenge, any role of the chair that's a particular challenge for you that you would want to offload to someone else?
Oh, Katie's not on.
I'm sorry, Jillian.
Oh, Jillian. Yeah.
I am not aware of all of the inner workings, so I'll keep you posted.
All right, I mean, we got
Fair
time.
enough.
I think we have it settled who's gonna be chair and who's gonna be vice chair, who's gonna be clerk. So I think we'll just go with that and we'll roll with that and, we'll trade off responsibilities as they come along.
Yep.
Okay. So we were not sent any other reserve fund transfers for this year. So I had put that on the agenda in case there were, but we did not. So I'm gonna move on to some of our routine business. And speaking of minutes, we'll go ahead and get that done. So these should have come to you all in an email. Minutes from June 12th. And I will entertain a motion.
I motion we accept the minutes.
Of June 12th.
June 12th.
There you go. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Is there any further discussion? All right, then I will do a roll call vote. Khadijah,
Yes.
Kevin? Oh.
Hold on a sec. I did
Yep.
notice something.
Sure,
There is
go
a
ahead.
typo. There is a typo in that document.
Okay.
So
Oh,
do you
yeah,
want me
it's-
just to vote?
I see
Do you
it.
want me just to vote
Gage.
no since?
No, you can say, I can change the typo for the word gauge and you can say as amended. So Khadijah, will you do your motion again and say accept the minutes as amended?
I motion the minutes are accepted as amended of June 12th.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. And we'll do a roll call. Khadijah,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
and Jillian.
I will abstain because I was absent.
Okay, and I am a yes as well. All right, so updates from chairs and members. So one thing, I did send an email to you all about budget transfers. So for our new members, throwing around a couple of concepts and things tonight. So reserve fund transfers are from the reserve fund, which is a certain amount of money that is voted in at annual town meeting that is under the purview of the finance committee. And we receive reserve fund transfer requests from departments, often more toward the end of the year if people have issues, departments have things that weren't in their budget and they realize they're not going to be able to afford to do. And so we have that, that's the reserve fund. And then the other thing that happens, and this only happens at the end of the year, reserve fund transfers can happen anytime during the year, but only at the end of the year. It has to be after May 15th, I believe. And then there's a deadline from the department, the higher ups, the State Department, on how long you have after the end of the fiscal year. You can do transfers between departments and budget transfers. Those are called budget transfers. They don't occur between the large, when we vote at ATM for our budget, there are certain categories that we vote in. Budget transfers aren't between those categories, they're within departments in those categories. So you wouldn't necessarily have one between the police department and the DPW, but you may have them between departments within the larger. So general government has multiple departments in it. And this is a way to help to balance the budget at the end of the year. If one department has a surplus and another department has a deficit, you can move it and make everything work out. Yes.
Sorry, Alana, but I don't think that's exactly right. And
Does it
more
not
just
have
'cause
to
we're
be?
doing it, but it can be between budget line items,
It can.
except that you cannot take money away from schools. And there
Okay.
may be one other smaller category you can't take money away from.
Okay.
But we could move money between public safety. and
Okay. So it
DPW,
could
for
be,
instance.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But only within the last 2 months. And
Yeah.
there may even be, I think there may be a 10% cap on,
How
as a
much?
percentage of line item. But,
Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you.
so,
There you go. Natasha, I see your hand raised. Go ahead.
I just wanted to circle back last meeting, I mentioned that the school might have reserve fund transfers. We did not. However, I did want to bring up to FinCom that the superintendent has notified the school committee that the air conditioner, air compressor, some mechanical machinery that costs about $180,000 for Fowler's Auditorium has failed. And he is working with Greg and the DPW, but because that is considered the emergency shelter for the town, in particular, there seems more urgency in getting that. I don't have any information additional about that, but that's just the very basic. It just happened over the last week of school, last week, that it came to light that it was beyond repair when they've
Okay.
had someone come out. So they're gonna have to go through bidding and all of that, but just to put on the radar, we're looks to be starting the FY24 with a major unanticipated expense for the school.
Okay.
I'll keep everyone
That's-
posted as I hear more.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. As if we don't have any more
Yeah.
things to just, I did actually tell ask the superintendent today to see, the MSBA has multiple programs. They have programs for buildings, which is the core program. They also have programs for accelerated projects. I don't know if we would qualify in that regard, because we were qualifying for another program or anything, but he was going to look to see if, and I don't, again, dealing with a government agency, I don't know how accelerated the program would be, because it
Right.
seems as though this would need to be rectified within months, and has a lot going on there. So anyway, just
Okay.
FYI.
Okay. Thanks for the update.
Okay.
So yeah, so budget transfers, they are coming up. There was an email sent to members this week from Greg about when he would have those ready. And so I wanted to talk to the committee about calendar and timing of that, because let me make sure I speak correctly here. So our regularly scheduled first meeting of July would be July 10th. And these budget transfers are due before our next meeting would be scheduled. So I think Greg's, let me just pull up the email so I don't misspeak. So he would need to have them done by the middle of July. But I believe Monday the 17th is actually the last day. So his thought was to potentially have a joint select board and FinCom meeting on Monday the 17th. So I wanted to put that out there, make sure you guys would be able to have a quorum. Any thoughts on that?
As I recall, Greg's note said something about he wouldn't have the budget transfers ready for the regular select board meeting, which I believe is
Yeah, he said the 5th,
first
which I
week of
find
July.
kind of, yeah, I think they were supposed to have it on the 5th.
But I'm
Obviously
wondering
not
if he
the
might
4th is a
have
Tuesday.
them ready by the 10th. We could just deal with
Okay.
them at our regular meeting. So
Okay,
I think it would make sense to add them to that agenda
sure.
and then, you know, tell Greg that we're meeting the 10th and we hope he has them by then. And then, you know, if he doesn't, then we'll have to figure it out. But I'm sure there's some 20-minute period when a quorum can get together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other thing that could potentially be is if you wanted to move your first meeting to July 17th and just have the select board join for a certain period of time to do the budget transfers and then continue on. But I don't know if that would be, I would have to speak to Dick Downey about that, and I don't know if he'd want to
That's
have,
complicated.
yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like since we have to do
Uh,
the chair and everything,
You said the deadline is July 17th. What's the drop dead deadline?
that's, I believe
July
it's,
17th.
yeah, July
Okay.
15th is normally the deadline, but that's a Saturday, so they're giving the towns to the 17th, which is a Monday. So, yeah, I can certainly, I know I did mention to Greg that our meeting would be July 10th, but I will let him know that obviously it would be lovely if they could be done by then. But again, he's working without a finance director and might be, you know, burning the midnight oil on that particular thing.
Yep.
So, yeah, so just make a note that there may be a brief meeting on Monday, July 17th. And then, you know, you all obviously at that point can discuss your schedule moving forward. So generally speaking, FinCom meetings are the 2nd and 4th Monday of the month, but obviously, you know, it's your committee, and if you need to move that or skip one or whatnot, then, you know, you can do that.
How
Especially
many
in the
days
summer.
ahead of time do we have to post? 3?
It has to
Uh,
be 48 business hours. So,
Yes,
so it,
48.
yeah.
Oh.
So if the meeting's on a Monday, you have to post it Thursday. Right? I'm usually,
Yes.
I'm always so worried about it. I'm usually like a week out. So I'm not, but yeah,
It's 48 hours counting only weekdays. So
yeah.
Saturday and Sunday don't count.
And the town clerk office is great about sending reminders when there's holidays that may mess that up. They're very good at being like, there's a holiday this week. That means your posting has to be on this day if your you know, meeting is this day. So that's very helpful.
But we're assuming we're going to do July 10th and the 17th is the backup if we have to.
We are going to do July 10th. The 17th is likely due to the budget transfer
Right. If they can't do
issue
it
only.
before. Mhm.
Yeah, if Greg doesn't have them ready by the 10th, which my guess is that he may not. So I would probably assume you're going to have to call a meeting on the 17th.
Hmm.
But it should be a quick, you know, it should be, I believe it's going to be you, the FinCom and the select board. You all come together, select board votes on the budget transfers, you all vote on the budget transfers, and then that's it. That's the meeting.
Okay.
All right. I think that was pretty much it for my chair updates. I wanted to thank Ken for his service as an outgoing member. He was on the committee for 9 years, Peter? Am I sick? I don't remember. Is that terrible? It was longer than me. That's
Yeah.
why I don't remember. Is it 9?
Okay. I guess, I don't
It
know.
was at least 6, right? Because
Okay.
it was prior to my service. I've been on 4, so he was. So it's at least 6, might be 9. Anyway, Ken, thank you very much for everything that you have done for the Finance Committee, and we wish you well. And I also wanted to say thank you to everyone on the committee for having me be your chair. And I'm sorry that I'm leaving a little earlier than I had anticipated, and I appreciate all the support. And I look forward to watching what you all do. And I want to reiterate that I am not leaving Maynard or anything. And if you have any questions, or you can't find something, or you're not sure about something or whatever, or you just want to bounce an idea off someone who's not in the committee because don't want to break open meeting law, that's fine. Send me an email. You know where to find me.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
I would just say thanks very much for serving, Alana. I think it's been a very good couple of years where we've done a lot of good stuff, and certainly the kind of town-wide coordination of boards that you've spearheaded, I think, has been very good and productive for the town. So especially for that, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Here, here.
Very
Tri
much.
board meetings have been very productive. You've been very collaborative. Great chair.
Thank you.
And I will,
yeah.
I will echo those comments as well. Thank you so much, Alana, for your service. And again, the collaboration between the boards has been fantastic and headed in the right direction. I hope we can continue that pattern going forward and add to the legacy that you'll be leaving behind.
Thank you. Yeah, with that in mind, for the July 10th meeting, something we can put on the agenda is initial thoughts on who would like to do liaisons to other boards. So that's something to think about. And actually, before I leave it, since we're speaking about the agenda for July 10th, is there anything else that you would like on that agenda? So we'll have the voting, discussion of general discussion for the year and liaisons, things like that. But was there anything? I know that the Friends of Maynard Seniors wanted to get on an agenda at some point. I don't know if you want to do that right off the bat, but that's just something that I know is on the docket somewhere. Any other thoughts for that meeting?
I think a general topic of FY24 planning would be, would encompass most of what we're going to want to cover.
Right.
And yeah, I would say wait on scheduling guests.
Okay.
Unless other people disagree, but.
Yeah,
No,
if
I
there's
think that's
any,
a good idea, because
Okay.
I think most of the time the first meeting is just figuring out who are we,
right,
and where are we going to go.
right. Sure. That makes sense.
Well, I just want to thank you, Alana, for your guidance, and I want to recommend the new members that if they have any questions that they think are dumb, they should email Alana. She'll
That's right. If you don't want to say anything in a public
answer them.
meeting,
Right.
I'll give it to you straight.
Right. I encourage you to do that.
Absolutely. But
She's been great.
don't feel that, like, I am joking. Don't feel shy about asking questions. There is a lot that will, be said, and it's okay if you don't know what that means. You know, we tend to throw around a lot of jargon.
lot.
And yeah. And so, and I hope that you do find the onboarding document helpful. And also the calendar document and the chair document that I left on board docs for those that are taking over. I hope those will be helpful. Do other members have any updates from their other boards or other happenings around town? No, this tends to be
No,
sometimes
we
a
haven't
little
had a
quiet.
joint board meeting in a while.
The budget subcommittee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless I missed it. Did I miss any, Peter? I don't know. I haven't heard anything.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think after town meeting, there's a little bit of a lull in the budgeting, but it'll start up soon enough. It's not much of a lull. All right, well, unless there are some visitors tonight, before we adjourn, did anybody else want to make a public comment or have anything that they were particularly here to listen? If so, I would be happy to take a public comment at this time. Natasha, go ahead.
As someone who's served on school committee for a few years, I just wanted to thank you, Alana, for your work on FinCom. I know we haven't always seen eye to eye on everything, but I know it takes a special kind of person to sacrifice their off time, you know, to dedicate as much as you've done to finance committee. And it's always been with the intent of doing what you think is right. So I just wanted to thank you for your service. And I hope that you will drop by
Yeah.
to do that. So
Thank you. I look
yeah.
forward to just being able to do public comment.
You look forward to posting on social media, huh? Like, yeah, I know.
We'll get back into, no, that'll
Yeah.
be good. I'm sure
And
I will.
I
Yes.
also, just to whoever, I mean, we haven't organized as a school committee yet. We plan to be doing that hopefully in the next few weeks, but if, whoever is, I think any school committee members welcome to connect with anybody if they have questions. I know the school stuff is a little bit dense, and you guys with losing Ken, who, was a prior school committee member. Sometimes, things can feel a little disjointed and not following the town stuff exactly how you're accustomed to. So I just welcome any communications or questions that we can continue to collaborate on things with. So, all right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, if that is all, then I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second? All right. All those in favor, Khadijah,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Jillian,
I do, but who seconded? I missed
Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful summer, and I look forward to seeing you around town.